If you're seeing this video, it means either you're a newcomer to project management or your existing project manager. Either way, we're going to talk about 10, and I do mean 10, top terms every aspiring project manager should know. Now, here's the caveat. I want to make you sure, I want to let you know that these are definitely subjective, but these are some of the things that when I was getting started and in the realm of project management, and I was hearing these terminologies, I was like, "What is that? What are you saying?" So, family, come take a ride with me, walk with me, and talk with me. My name is ED for all you smart and intelligent folks out there. That just simply means Ed. The first one in this 10-point framework, and I normally have an 8-point framework, but it is 10 points that I want to get out is project charter. Listen, a project charter is a formal documentation that authorizes the project, defines the scope, budget, schedule, and stakeholders at a high level. Also, is supposed to authorize the project manager. Now, I've seen it, go both ways, but again, technically, it should be the document that authorized the actual project manager. This is the funny story, family. So one day I was again aspiring to be a project manager. A guy said, "Hey, can I see your WBS?" I said, "What is that? A W who?" He said, "Your WBS." I said, "What is a WBS?" He was like, "You don't know what a WBS is?" I was like, no. I mean, I'll Google it and see. He was like, "Man, your work breakdown structure." I was like, "Oh, you talking about the thing with the boxes and the things with the hierarchical like breakdown, and it breaks it down from the you talking about that thing? Yeah, let me walk you through that and show you what I got." And it was just a funny exchange. And I said, "You know what? Next time he come to me, I'll make sure I have that answer when he says what WBS is." Point number two, which is WBS. What that stands for is work breakdown structure. Basically, it's a decomposition at a hierarchical standpoint that decomposes project into smaller, more manageable tasks, and is also used to help you assist you when creating the project schedule as well as the budget, because you have control accounts in there. I won't get too in detail in that. I did do a video on the work breakdown structure. It is an amazing document, but caveat, I guess that's going to be my new, or I could say message. Uh, WBS cannot be applied to every project. Now, I know I'm going to have some haters say, "Yeah, it can be." But honestly, it can. And the only reason why I say that, because I had that same ideology. I would say, yeah, you can put a WBS with everything, and it help you, drive a project. However, there are certain projects that I've come across that it didn't make sense to have a WBS, and I'm gonna give you some more proper context, because either the project was too small, and I mean small enough where we were turning it around extremely fast, or it was more of a certification type project in which there were the moving pieces didn't align with trying to break it down into a WBS. It made sense to put it on a different artifact. Maybe if I get some comments, I'll explain what that artifact is. But let's move on to point number three. Risk. Listen, a risk is the event that could have impact on the project's success. It's important to identify and assess risk early. I'm gonna do it in my DMX voice. Early in the project, so you can develop mitigation strategies. Family, what I've learned through my decade of doing project management, it's so funny when if you don't have a good solid PMO or a group of people that really understand project management, and you put a risk down, it's like all chaos, and you're like, well, no, it's just a risk. We have a mitigating control, and if it flips into an issue, then we'll definitely make sure that we address it appropriately. But we are planning ahead. That's the whole point of identifying risk, so we can ensure and understand kind of what we need to do if this potentially happens. All right, I'm sorry, family. Let's move on to point number four. Stakeholder. This is a term that you really want to understand. Now, okay, what is stakeholder, ED? Stakeholder is anyone that could be that's interested in the project's outcome. It's funny because people don't really realize they won't even think of people that should be part of the stakeholder group. Meaning, they'll meet with other people instead of including the actual resources that need to be part of that. Let me clean that up. Let me clean that up. What I mean by that is, family, is that let's say you don't go grab Sally and John because you're like, oh, we won't need them. They're in accounting, but you may not know that Sally is the one that actually orders the equipment that you need because she's running a dual role. And that's why it's important to, I always say, get everybody in the room and then start making a decision if this stakeholder is going to be, has an interest in the actual outcome of the project. And that could be, like I said, employees, manager, external customers from your suppliers or vendors. So, family, is important and imperative that you actually do that. Let's move on to point number 5. Change management. Hey, listen, change, as they say, is inevitable. What does that mean? Well, change management is a process of basically managing changes to the project's triple constraint, in my humble opinion, which is scope, schedule, budget, as well as quality or any other aspects. Change management, when you have a solid change management board in place, it really supports your projects from getting in. And reason why I say that, because when you have a great change management in place, documentation is going to be conversation. Documentation is going to be conversation. And the only reason why I said that twice is because it's true. When you have a good CAB, what they call change management board, they will make sure that you document what are you going to do? What's your go forward plan? What if this doesn't work? What's your fallback plan? And who's the resources we need to contact if we can't get a hold of you. So again, family, a good change management board or just change management in general is definitely, as we say, change is inevitable I say inevitable, sound like an edible. No, anyway, but inevitable on a particular project. Funny story. So this guy was like, "Hey, have you ever worked with the PMO?" I said, "What did you just call me?" No, no. He said, "No, no." And he's like, "No, Ed, you being funny." I was like, "No, I'm not. What did you just call me?" He said, "No." He said, "Have you ever worked with the PMO?" I said, "Oh, you talking about the project management office?" Yeah, I've actually built PMOs. He was like, "Really?" And I was just messing with him because I knew what it is. But the next term here, family, is PMO. You want to understand what a PMO does. See, a PMO is a project management office. It's a central unit within an organization that sets the project management standards and practice. You know I'm coming with the message. When you're building, if you are someone that is part of building out a PMO or you're already currently leading a PMO, my recommendation, right or wrong, just what I was thinking of at the time, is ensure that you get engaged with the project managers to understand how projects are being led so you can be able to build out better standards and practices. I know what you're thinking, ED. You trying to be a smart addict. No, I'm not. I'm just being honest, is that was one of the things that I learned as when I was building out a PMO. I understand the certain requirements because not all requirements for the PMO is required for a certain project. As they say, what makes a project unique is it's unique. So a project doesn't have a basic, it has a start and end date. And it's unique. If that's the point, then why wouldn't we want to work with our project managers to understand their project and how we can ensure that we're protecting them as well as putting standards and practices in place that support, because that's the key word, support that particular individual. Let's move on to point number 7, milestone. Now listen, I've seen people say, hey, this is a milestone. No, it's not, it's a task. What do you mean, ED? Let's see. A milestone is a significant point in the project timeline to actually track progress. So when you see people creating tasks and you like, okay, is this a task or is this a milestone? I'll repeat it again. Milestone is a significant point in a project timeline to track progress. I probably don't need to say no more on that. Point number 8. Now, this one always gets a lot of people. It even gets me from time to time. It makes me to go back and do my homework because somebody say, well, I want to know if it's on the critical path. And you're like, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, what objects? I mean, like, what is it? Let me unpack what critical path is. Critical path is the sequence of tasks that determines the project's shortest duration. So if you've ever heard someone say, "Oh, is that is that going to be on the critical path?" Now that you've listened to this video, your eyebrows might go up just like mine. They're like, "What? What are you talking about?" We mislabel critical path sometimes, family, and it's okay, but it's not okay, and that's why we have to we have to continually correct ourselves. It is again the sequence of tasks that determines the project's shortest duration. What that translates is saying, hey, what are these tasks that allow me to be able to finish faster or shorter in duration? A critical path is, I've heard it from, oh, is that on the critical path? And you like, um, what is on the critical path? Is it one of the tasks that's aligned, that's sequenced with the other task that's going to provide the shortest duration? So you got to make sure you're cautious with that, family. You don't want to sound, you come across very how I'm trying to look for the word, disrespectful, but you can say it respectfully. So again, I'm gonna say it again, family, because I hear this terminology misused a lot. Again, it's the sequence of tasks that determines the project's shortest duration. Point number 9, project scope. Listen, I just want to know, hey, what's included, what's not. You see how simple that is? I think we make it too hard. The scope is what is included. What do you want to do? That's what you want to do. All right, we're going to lock it in. If anything outside of what we've agreed on as the scope, we need to go through the change management board and update the scope and do a change. Again, what's included, what's not included. What's not included, hey, maybe we can put on a backlog or something of that nature to maybe address it later, saying, hey, maybe we can add it. If we see it makes sense to add it to this project, we will. If not, then we're not going to do it. We can put it in our lessons learned as saying, hey, we came up with some ideas and we documented it in our lessons learned. The final point, and the reason why I use this, again, I said if I was able to remix the iron triangle, this particular item would be there. I wouldn't call it this. I would probably call it resource constraint. But in today's video, the actual number point is resource allocation. It's effectively assigning and managing people, time, and material. The reason why I said I would want to add that to the iron triangle is because of the fact that I am noticing with projects is that I'm seeing more resource constraints, and it's not because the resources are not there, but they're being pulled in various areas on top of working their day to day. So resource constraints has to be tightened up better. We have to lead better. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I've been your boy ED. Until next time, by the way, if you haven't picked you up a copy, pick up the book, The Magnetic Project Manager, and support the channel. I appreciate it. Until next time, I'm out.